Hey everyone, this is alexusadays, and today I want to talk about Agile and when Agile falls short. As a QA engineer with years of experience, I have a lot of examples that I've saw or I talked to other testers about or other people in tech industry where you can clearly see Agile is not being handled properly. Things are not going the way they should go. So I'm going to talk about some of those scenarios and let me know if you've seen them in your practice. I'll give you some examples and maybe how they could be addressed or improved, right? If you don't know what Agile is, so Agile is a development methodology where you look at the product as in the context more, is it good, is it ready to go versus what are our contract, what are our documentation. This is more about delivering working product than the processes themselves. So Agile tends to be more flexible. It tends to be more responsive to change, tends to focus less on documentation and more on actually the feature that should be working. And it has a smaller increments, so you deliver things in smaller parts continuously, working towards this stable, continuously delivered product that keeps on getting better. So this is the ideal world, right? Simplicity and efficiency. What I've seen, and I keep on seeing this, and other people too that work in testing, is it's not always the case, right? And I'm going to give some of those examples. Let me know if you've seen that and how you address that if you did. So number one is there are a bunch of teams that work in a project. They have different parts of the products or different products that are going to come together at some point, but the product is too compartmentalized. So there's small parts that are in different places, and no one is really know who's responsible for what. There might be one knowledgeable developer or product manager in one team, and then maybe one in another. They know their parts of their application, but nobody really knows how the whole thing comes together. And there's a lot of meetings trying to connect and figure out how the handoff going to go, how to solve certain things, how the product should be behaving. There's no source of truth. It's just some people know something, and we have to find those people, kind of thing. So that tends to lead to confusion, unclear and unreliable delivery dates, and kind of goals are kind of smuggled. When you try to get to the final destination, final product, you learn that this is not connecting with this, and who's responsible for what. We have to have this person. There's always meetings about meetings, kind of find out who's doing what, right? This is the first one. So the second one, Agile team has no time for regression. They shifted left so far, so they keep on working on test cases during grooming and analysis for the upcoming work. And then once the work is completed, they tend to just do the feature testing of what's in progress. For the regression, they might have some small automation that is just doing some positive checks and really won't catch anything more meaningful. So as a result, you end up, those kind of hidden issues building up without proper discovery and regression around them until you get to the point where things start falling apart and you realize, okay, there's so many things that we kind of skipped and didn't think about. We just, we didn't actually test. We test the features in progress. We didn't really test the whole thing working together all the time, and kept kind of adding more until it actually blew up, right? Number three is when there's one tester built into multiple teams and they work with like 5+ developers. So the ratio is crazy, and this tester is kind of just running around, plugging holes and pointing to fire, say, no, we have a leak here, we have fire here, this and this and this. So the whole focus of the tester is just making sure that the thing is not falling apart. Pretty much. There is no any meaningful testing aside just pointing to some obvious things that are breaking, and that is considered to be good coverage, which is never gonna end good if you do that this way. Number four, testers reporting to development director and being part of development team, where the development really has no clue what QA is all about, or they have their own idea of what QA should be doing and how they should be doing it. So instead of giving some relative tasks around QA, they come up with some irrelevant goals and metrics that really just stand in the way of proper testing. Uh, there is a focus towards development, and QA is just, oh, we got QA, but what are they doing? Well, they're doing some metrics. Why? Because I told them. Is it important? Is it needed? I don't know. Probably not. So that's kind of an approach. So yeah, being under development director, and I'm not saying it's always the case. Sometimes being under development director is great, but many times it just seems like testing is there to inconvenient developers. Now, number 5 is continuous context switching, pursuing of features without strengthening sprints, and just building tons of technical depth into the product. They shift from one idea to another, from one feature to another, from one client to another, keeping on, kind of changing, following, changing, and they end up with a lot of parts of the product that are not complete or completed poorly. There is no wholeness of the whole thing. You don't feel it, right? It just like kind of Frankenstein kind of thing being built, and the tools as well. So keep on switching tools, keep on shifting priorities. From my personal experience, it impacts product in the long run badly, and you end up with just building a lot of bugs and problems into your product because you keep on switching languages, tools, priorities, and features that need to be done, and keep on jumping from client to client. Whatever. I guess it's more of a startup thing, but whatever needs to be done to keep afloat. But you're in the end just losing the game, right? Number 6 is no proper bug triage, and there's no interest from business or product management to actually do anything like that. Unless the bug is critical, a blocker, it will be addressed immediately, and everyone gonna plow it. It was fixed. But if you open something that eventually gonna blow up and maybe return is a big issue, but right now is not really big priority and not an issue yet, things can be opened, and even if you tag business saying, can we address this? Is there a point to addressing this? When it's just going to be shoved on the rug, saying at some point, or no, not a priority, we're not going to do it until it actually becomes one, and then you find out, you maybe opened something like that 3 months back and was never properly addressed. So kind of just ignoring bugs in general, unless they're critical or blockers, right? Number 7, no team consideration on how feature can be tested or impact on other features during planning. So business planning is more about what feature should be doing and maybe something that it shouldn't be doing, but not how it interacts with other things, how it impacts other parts of the product. And definitely there's no conversation, is it really testable? Right? Is that something that we can test, and how we're going to test it? There's no conversation like that happening. And then what it results into, that you have to actually have those conversations. But then they're going to happen during the development or during testing, which leads to more scope added, and things become more complicated. It should have been something should have been talked about and prevented during the planning, right? Number 8 is automate everything. Like, automation is a go-to solution. We're just gonna automate everything, and it's good. We don't even need to test anything. We just add, there's an automation place, so we write code, we automate alongside. But what you end up having is automation that you can't maintain. It's very expensive to maintain it. QA engineers in automation are more concerned about fixing their automation to make it pass instead of thinking about and testing the actual quality of the product, because automation itself is a dependency, right? And aside from product changes, there could be environment changes, or like new devices, whatever is happening that automation doesn't have a clue or knows about until it actually happens, and then you have to fix a whole bunch of things. So having scripts being green, and maybe they're in thousands of them, but not really given any meaningful quality assurance, So yeah, that's one of the things that I see sometimes in Agile. Well, let's push automate everything, and until they find out that it's not actually the best thing to do. Number 9 is no unit testing, and it's just a lot of issues that could have been caught during unit testing on like basic inputs, negative values, boundary testing, stuff like that. It's just not there. And testing looks more like checking of things off, going through kind of some of the common things, an issue that if could have caught development could have caught was unit testing, and um, testing then is viewed more of like checking things, or instead of having the mindset of quality first and building quality in, it's about throwing it to QA and let's QA figure out all of those like small little things that are open as bugs that could have been prevented earlier. Okay. So yeah, I think that that is like one of the main things that I see normally that are being said that, okay, we're doing agile and then we're having all of those things with that, but in reality, it's a very ineffective system that leads to a lot of issues, regression, leads to technical debt, and eventually, to rethinking the approach. So to summarize everything, right? Agile is a good buzzword. There's tons of subdivisions of agile, lean, CI/CD, ongoing development, building quality in, shifting left, Scrum, and so on and so on. Everything is a buzzword, and we just throw it on top. Business kind of throws it in there, and like we kind of figure out what we're gonna do with it and how it's gonna work. But for me to understand, first of all, agile have to be a balanced approach between the principles of agile and the role of QA and the quality that you bring with that. You can't just say, we're going to release that because we need to on that date without having the product at the place where it needs to be. You can't start working on a product without proper planning and understanding how you're going to deliver it and how it's going to work. So even though I truly believe in agile, and I think it's one of the best things that we have, considering the pace of development. But we also need to remember that we can't keep on cutting corners in the sake of getting features out faster. We have to think about the balance of actually delivering quality product first. Okay, so yeah, let me know if you dealt with that type of agile and the issues that I talked about. What's your experience? This was Alex. You say days. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.